The Arc of Infinity began the second season for Peter Davison's Doctor Who, and it certainly, in my opinion, is one of the more significant episodes in Doctor Who lore overall. Primarily, in a lot of ways, because it's the return of Omega, who, well, until recently, was a significant historical figure for the Time Lords. But yeah. Apparently that doesn't mean anything anymore. But it introduced interesting aspects. So we haven't seen Omega since, the Three Doctors, where he supposedly ceased to exist, since he didn't really exist much at all. But he had become a creature of pure thought, apparently. But he, in order to return to the universe from beyond the antimatter universe, he was going to have to bond with someone else and adapt their, biology, if you will, to create a form for himself to exist. And, he chose the Doctor. Now, he had help from one of the Time Lords, who it stands to reason why this Time Lord would do that, because Omega is like one of their great heroes, is one of the founder of their abilities to travel through time and all that. And so he enables this, and so why pick the Doctor when he could have picked any of the other Time Lords? Well, it probably would have been easier for them to detect what was happening. There could have been other rogue Time Lords for which to choose, but I don't think you'd want to use the Master. And a couple of others and whatnot, but the Doctor in particular, because, well, the Doctor thwarted his original plans, so he's got an axe to grind. So the Doctor it is, and he makes the bonding a match, and so the Time Lords realize what Omega is trying to do, or whoever. They don't know at first. Eventually they realize, oh, it's Omega, and the only way to prevent it is to kill the Doctor. So they don't like using the death penalty, but in some emergencies you kind of have to. And so that's what they tend to do. The Doctor, of course, says, hey, there's got to be another way. And ultimately, of course, there is. And it appears that Omega's ideas was never really going to work. He seems to almost achieve it. And, of course, since he's using the Doctor's biology, if you will, or his biomatrix or what have you, I forget how they call it, a code of it or what have you, the form he takes is the Doctor himself. He looks Peter Davison does a double role here for a little while until he turns into Frankenstein's monster. And the Doctor is forced to destroy him, seemingly, but it probably, and I think there was a big finish, a follow-up, where it simply sent him back to the antimatter world. This also brings back Barusa, who is now Lord President, and considering the position that Barusa held, or you don't get a whole lot of it, but you see it, that he's one of these guys who was working behind the scenes. And I often thought he was the type of guy who could have been a character who manipulated things to where, even though it was against the Time Lord codes and laws and whatnot, he saw that it was best to have someone like the Doctor on the outside, and could have been someone, playing the game from behind the scenes to manipulate things to where it's sometimes favorable to the Doctor and not. Here he's in the position, it's like, look, I'm sorry, man, but we don't have a choice. We're running out of time. I know we're Time Lords, but yeah, we're running out of time. So it's nothing personal, but and so that's what he would do, because Barusa is all about Gallifrey. Now, this is the last time we'll see him. And, he wasn't so favorable here, as that he decided, got to kill the Doctor. I don't want to, but I think we got to. And turns out it would have been a horrible mistake. But, we'll see him next in the Five Doctors. But Barusa is one of these characters that it was a little, it was a recurring one, and of course, each time it's a different actor because, Time Lords can regenerate. And it's one I thought they could have utilized even more. Instead of just writing him off in the Five Doctors and whatnot. I know there's been, novels? I don't know about the Big Finish did anything with him, but he's a character that I thought could have been utilized quite a bit. There's been, mentors and stuff that the Doctor would meet and all that, but Barusa was actually one of his, academy professors, if you will. And it's just a more interesting, complicated relationship that I thought could have been developed to where it just, sometimes it seems he could be a villain, and sometimes he's not. He's not he's not the master or anything like that. And there's this almost love-hate relationship between the two that could have been interesting. And one of the ideas I thought about a solution, and I've done a video on this before, and I'm really thinking of doing another one on the whole War Doctor business, and that the aspects revealed here in this business of bonding and whatnot could have been a solution by which the War Doctor is technically still the 8th Doctor, but he's been bonded, and I thought the two candidates that it could be would be Omega doing it again, but this time remaining within, they fuse into one person, but if not him, then Barusa, and Barusa makes a more interesting character, certainly within the aspects of the Time War, as someone who could have been revealed as someone who was trying to prevent it all this time, and why he made the choices he made, especially at the end with the 5 Doctors, and the terrible consequences of it he foresaw, or what have you. But anyway, this is one of this show certainly gives a potential explanation for that, to where you keep the continuity pretty sound, and you still have a War Doctor, just under different circumstances. But anyway, that's not going to happen. Of course, it's all the return of Tegan, which is an unusual thing. It happens this way, because it's technically speaking, she could have just left. And I don't know, maybe I was Janet Fielding rethinking it or whatever, and said, okay, I'll come back. I don't know. But because, for the purpose of this story, it's boy, what a small world and a small universe. It just happens to be that her cousin becomes a pawn of Omega. He's turned into a zombie by him, basically, by his pet rubber chicken. Hey, don't mess with Omega. He'll stick his rubber chicken on you. And he just happens to be there, and then Tegan just happens to be coming along after she lost her airport job. She's back at the airport, but as a passenger, looking to hang out with her cousin, who's doing his backpacking tour of Europe deal, and his pal has to tell Tegan, well, he got attacked by a giant rubber chicken. And Tegan believes him because, well, guess where she's been all this time. So it's a bit much for it to happen that way. But, well, what are you going to do? And we also, of course, is it Commander or Colonel Maxwell shows up. And that, of course, is Colin Baker, which, considering what they've done in recent Who, where the subconsciously influences within the Doctor's mind can cause him to regenerate into the appearance of someone he's seen. So, of course, with Peter Capaldi's, they flat out say that. And then here you have, the Doctor gets shot by Colin Baker. And so that's stuck in his head, So he later regenerates into that form. I don't know what Maxwell would have thought of that, but Maxwell is just this by-the-book, hard-ass policeman, type guy. He's not really a villain, per se. He's gonna follow those orders. And then when it looked like someone else was the suspect, well, okay, he's right on that. So, but it was a good performance by him, and apparently Colin Baker would get all these kind of villain roles before he got to do Doctor Who. And but we'll get to that when he becomes the Doctor. But anyway, and then there's actually probably one of the more powerful performances for Nyssa here as she comes to the defense of the Doctor. And it's all rather sad that she's, in the end, she can't really do anything. She can't save him, and he's telling her not to do it. He doesn't want her to get hurt and all that sort of stuff. So it's actually pretty good. And there's also this interesting thing where she decides to take action. She's going to grab a weapon and try to save the Doctor. This other guy, I don't know if he's a Time Lord or just a technician or what have you, but he's like, oh, well, be safe. And he just sits there in his dress. You know, it's what they wear over there. Or maybe, and with thanks to New Who, we know maybe he was a Time Lord and he was a woman before, but just regenerated and hadn't had time to get some new clothes. But this whole thing about, women were just there to scream and be victims or whatnot, and all the misogyny of the past. Not here, but of course it's all forgotten. She takes the initiative. This man stays behind to keep the house warm. And she goes off to go save the doctor. And she can't quite do it, but still she tried, So anyway, she kind of went, and she was shooting people here and there all over the place. Yeah, she went total Leela there for a while. But anywho, and even the doctor ended up having to shoot Omega, and so sometimes you got to do that, Doesn't have to like it, but it's just, what else are you going to do? So it is, yes, a significant episode, and of course, kind of a precursor, I think, to the Five Doctors. One could think that they could have clued in Barusa in that, and to give more background to his motivations to what happens in Five Doctors. And I thought maybe this episode was kind of a missed opportunity in that. But, well, what are you going to do? But in my head canon, there was some elements of that. So anyway, there we go. Arc of Infinity for Doctor Who. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness, so many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.